Hello and welcome to Art 13131. Again, I'm outside, so there's going to be wind chimes and stuff going on because it's a little windy today, but a beautiful view of the ocean out there. A little cold, but not that bad. And um, what we're talking about here is number 13. We're in week 7. Week 7, number 13. It's a house or building in 2-point perspective. Also, the homework is a corner of the room, which is basically the same idea. It's talking about perspective, but I'll show you how it's a 2-point or 1-point perspective. We'll talk about all that. But corner of the room can be either. I'll show you how to do both. And there'll be a video on both of these, I believe, if I can find them. So we're talking about 2-point perspective and 1-point perspective. Let's talk about 1-point real quick here because it's kind of an easy concept. Basically, you have a vanishing point. That's why they call it a 1-point perspective on the horizon line. And you have a vanishing point. That would be this point. And so when you're drawing anything, and especially cubes or houses or something, each side of the cube, if you were to draw a cube here, a cube here, a cube here, they're all facing you directly on one side. They're not twisted. So this side is directly facing you. That means all these points and the cube is the same distance away from you. As opposed to 2-point perspective, it'll be one corner that's closest to you because the cube is kind of twisted. In this case, they're straight in front of you. So it works for a lot of things that are straight in front of you. As you can see, on each corner of the cube, there's a line drawn to the perspective point. On all of these, this one's just right in front of you, so you don't see the left and right side. This one's over to the side, so you see the right side, and the left side on this one, and the top, this is you see the bottom. But once you get those lines drawn from the cube corners, then you can draw the rest of your cube back here, which is the far side of it, and that becomes your cube. So this is showing the inside of the box. This one's not. It's just the outside, and the same with the top one. Typically what you would do is once you're done drawing the perspective points, lines, and your box, then now your box is in perspective. This is what it looks like to you from this viewpoint. Because everything going away from you, including the side of the box, appears to get smaller. Now, if you turn the box around, if it was able to sort of turn around in front of you, you'd see that all that perspective changes as you would change your eye view, or the object is actually changing its view that you're seeing it at. But that's why it appears that the box is getting shorter or smaller on the other end, is because that part's going away from you. That would work all the way down to the vanishing point. Okay? So that's basically what you're doing with any shape of a cube or a rectangle. You have your vanishing point on a horizon line, all the corners of the cube, and if that goes for a room too, I'll show you what that means for the corner of the room, are going to this vanishing point, which is directly in front of you. Okay, so we're talking about the corner of the room in particular. A lot of these are drawn in 2-point perspective, which I'll talk about in a minute. But some of them are actually drawn in 1-point perspective, which is more like this idea. So as you can see, if you were inside a cube, which is the room, all the lines the top of the ceiling and the floor lines go to a perspective point back here, vanishing point. 1 point perspective right there. That's the 1 point. So you draw lines out from there, and that's where the ceiling and the floor line are going. Then you just make a cube back here, a square to end your room on the wall, put a window in. All the stuff on the wall on this side or the dresser on this side, the lines at the top and in the middle of the drawers and here all go to the perspective point. Then you draw the end of your dresser, the ends of your pictures on the wall or whatever it is, but all the tops and bottoms are drawn to the perspective point, the vanishing point. Same with this thing. The sides of this are pointed to the vanishing point. And this is just straight on this side, because that's facing directly at you. Same with the end of the bed, facing directly at you. Dresser against the wall, facing directly at you. But the top of it is going to perspective point, because you can see a little bit of the top of it. If you can look over and you're standing tall enough to where you're seeing the top of that dresser, then you're seeing a little bit of a perspective point right there. Or the top of this that's going, the sides right there are going to the perspective point. So that works with all these rooms that are squared off and they're directly in front of you. So anything in the room would be going to a perspective point. Presumably here, they're not showing you, it's right here, because all the lines are going to that. Ceiling lines, floor lines, they all meet somewhere right here on the horizon. Then all this stuff on the wall, the ledge of this sort of shelf unit drawn to the perspective point. Everything else that isn't on a horizontal plane going down and vertical is just straight down. It's not curved or anything. If you notice that all this is straight down lines that make that up. But this unit on the top going to the perspective point, same here. Even this indented desk back here is going to the perspective point. The lines are on the sides. Okay, so that's how that works if you're going to do a 1 point perspective room. That would be how that works. See, all this is doing the two. Top of the door, bottom of the door, windows and mirrors, and all these shelves up here, whatever the cabinets, the chair, the bed, all those lines are going to a perspective point that meet out here. They're not showing you where it is, but it's all out here. If you were to draw a line from all of these, then it would meet about right there probably. So the bed, the floor, the carpet, all the runs in the floor, the planks on the wood floor, they're going to the perspective point too. And you'll see this if you're in a room. You look down from one corner to the other, you'll see that all this happening, okay? That's 1 point perspective room. And we go to a 2 point perspective room. I will show you what that means from this. So now you have a corner of a room, as opposed to the 1 point, which is like the far wall of it, and you got basically 2 corners and a far wall. Well, this is the far wall. Both walls are meeting into the corner. So that corner of the room is furthest away from you. That means everything going to that corner of the room appears to get smaller and smaller till it hits the corner of the room. Here's your horizon line, and here's your 2 point perspective. One on this side, one on that side, one on the left and one on the right. The ceiling lines and the floor lines all go to the 2 point perspectives on either side. You can draw these off the paper if you want. You can make a horizon line, tape your paper down, put the the perspective points way on the outside here to give you more room. It won't look as squished that way. But nevertheless, you can just put them right on the ends of your paper. If you're going to do it this way, you probably should turn your paper long ways so it's longer side to side rather than up and down. Yeah. And so that's how you accomplish the angles of the ceiling lines and the floor lines. Now, anything else in the room, like windows or pictures on the wall, are all going to go to those perspective lines. This isn't actually working right here. They drew that wrong. That would be straight across to this perspective over here. Let me see if I can find another one. Let's see here. This one would be more accurate. See, so if the perspective points are here and here, then the bottom of the mirror or the window is going to that perspective over here. Ceiling lines, same thing. Floor lines, door lines. Anything that's vertical is just straight up and down. Straight. Okay, and the more stuff you want to put in the room, all those things that are top and bottom that are horizontal are going to the perspective points on either side of the room. Now, I'll provide a video on this. But what I want to do right now is go into the 2-point perspective house, which you are going to learn to draw. As you can see, now it's inverted. So as the corner of the room, this wall corner right here, the corner of the room, was furthest away from you, on the outside of a building or a cabin, house, this is the corner that's closest to you. So everything on this side, the right side, and everything on the left side is appearing to get away from you. That means it's appearing to go away and get smaller. It looks smaller on this side of the house. Now, if you were to twist the house around in a circle, and this was facing straight on you, then these would be straight. It would be a straight cube showing that side. It all depends on how you're twisting and where you're standing for your perspective. And you'll see this if you back off enough distance to see a house or a building. You'll notice that one side slightly is angled down this way and that way in the perspective. Because everything is going away from you appears to get smaller. That means all this side, the window, and this side, the door and the windows and all the wood planks on the side of the building, all go to the perspective point on this side. And on this side of that corner, they all go to that perspective point. The fence as well. Fence goes over there. Fence goes over there. And the roof is basically just as high as you want it in a line that's basically just off center there. About right there. And then you draw down past the cube with a little bit of an overhang for rain. See that? And that's how you accomplish the pitch on that roof. And this is going to perspective point right there because it's a horizontal line. So is the bottom of the roof going to perspective point over here. This pitch right here can be mirrored back here. You can actually measure the distance from here to here and here to here and get that accomplished, or put a ruler down straight with that line and just slide it over without twisting it to the back end, and you can draw that line there too. Or you can just measure from here to here how far you want the pitch to go out. So it should go out past the corner a little bit so that you have an overhang for rain. Okay? And once you get all this done, I want you to put trees in and shade the sky, shade the ground. If anything's not white as paper, then it's going to have a tone, okay? Okay. So this is just the beginning. It's not finished without putting all trees and some, you're going to finish this drawing. It may take you several hours, but it's going to be worth it. So this is just the beginning. There's a perspective. I'll have a video on this as well. This is facing the other way. So the top of the roof is going down. Perspective points. So is this bottom. So is the bottom of the whole building. Tops of doors and bottoms of windows and doors all go to the perspective point. Same on this side. And everything else that's vertical is straight. However long you want the window, however long you want your door, how many doors and windows you want. You can keep adding to this and adding to it. Once you have a concept down, then it can change to all different kind of buildings, if whatever you want to do, if you got your head around this. Okay? And the chimney is the same thing. It's just that line's going to perspective, and then this side going to that perspective, because that's the closest corner on the chimney to you. So this side's looking a little, getting smaller. This one's getting smaller that way. And then you just fit it to the pitch of the roof. They'll show you in the video what that looks like, okay? I'm going to show you some 2-point perspective. Well, they've got the cabins. Then you've got these modern home ideas where there's no pitched roof on it. So it's just a bunch of boxes kind of sitting in different ways, you know. And once you get your head around this, you can start making up all kind of designs. But basically, that corner is the closest to you. On this big cube, it's this corner that's closest to you. On this one, it's that. On the perforating window that's kind of pooched out the side here, that's the closest corner to you. And that's why from here, all this stuff goes that way. On the left side of this, or whatever you want. Right side as I'm looking. Left side over here. All this stuff goes to that perspective point. Like I said, you can draw those perspective points way off the paper if you want on a table. Put a mark there, tape your paper down, make a horizon line. Then it gives you more room so things don't look so tiered. It actually may be more accurate to reality, but that's fine if you want to do it that way. Now, the other thing you could do instead of just a house is like a city block with a bunch of flat roof buildings on it, like this. Let's see. Mind you that whatever the box is, this is a separate box from that. They may be right up against each other, but they're separate in size. So this is the corner closest to you. And so that side goes to perspective point. Well, everything on this side of that does too. But on the corner of this building, you'll see that the top of the roof is going to the perspective point on the right. Same with this. There's a corner here. That means everything on that side goes that way. Everything on this side goes that way. Same with this one. It's going to that perspective point back there. But in the front, it's going to this one. This is all happening on the other side of the building as well. So you have to pick where that corner is on each building. And that's the closest corner on that building to you. Then that side is one direction, the other side is the other direction. And you see how they put the sidewalk in? It has a lip here because it's not perfectly level to the ground. It's a little bit of a lip and a curb. So there's a little line right there, and you continue again with the line back here. Of course, this is going to be all shaded with your light source. Shade with your light source. Wherever the light source is coming from, then the other side is slightly a little bit darker. Okay? So this is 2-point perspective. Let's go back to more options on houses. You can see many different ones. You know, you can do something simple like this. But that corner's the closest one to you because the cabin's sort of twisted. So this side's going to a perspective point over there, although I don't think they drew that correctly. So Don't look at that one. That's kind of not right. As you see here, all of these are kind of going to a perspective point, the logs. Same with this side, going to the perspective point, which is way out here, actually. It's not on the side of the paper on this one. It's been drawn way off the paper over here and over here. If you draw a line from there in the bottom, probably meets out here somewhere. Okay, and they'll show you how to do the roof if you're doing a pitched roof on one of these houses. They'll show you that too. Basically coming up from just past the middle, straight up, and then make a mark and then come down and draw your pitch of your roof. And of course it has an overhang here, but the top of the roof goes to the perspective point. Same with the bottom, same with this little addition. And then the floor and everything, the porch, all goes to that side. Floor, this side, windows and doors, all the tops and bottoms go to either side perspective point of that corner that's closest to you. The chimney is just another cube put on the roof, and all you're doing is matching the pitch of the roof right there. So there's the pitch of your roof, that line, you're matching it with that. And the chimney's sort of just sitting on the roof, on that pitch. The front part is going to perspective point, like the top, because those are horizon lines. All right, so check out the videos on this, and you can go through here and get many, many ideas to choose from. You can see these kind where they actually have the lines on them, and then erase your lines. Don't draw them very thick. Draw very faint lines when you're drawing lines to perspective point. Very faint, so that you can erase them. And then finish it out. Put some trees and some sky in there. And the road would not be white. No roads are white like that. So you want to put tone to everything that has a tone. And you also want to work with your light source. Which side is darker, which side is lighter. Okay, so all I did was put 2-point perspective house in Bing, 2-point perspective cabin, 1-point perspective drawing, corner of the room drawings, which came up with all these ideas. You can do that in 1 or 2-point perspective. Like I showed you, there's different ones. That's 1 point right here, because it's just a far wall, as opposed to a corner of the room like this one. That's a corner of the room. That's 2-point perspective. So there should be 2 videos anyway on this that you can look at on maybe a 1-point as well. So look at those, and any questions, let me know, and start working on these. Also, we're past the halfway mark. I sent out midterm grades. That's not your midterm presentation grade. That was a separate assignment. Midterm grade is your grade up until the fifth week. Okay, it's what you turned in and what you got as a grade on them. If I asked you to do more work on something, you didn't send it back, then you got a C on that. So I suggest something to work on. You work on it and send it back for a better grade. If I quit asking you to work on it, you basically got an A. And if you're questioned about that and you want to know what your grades are and anything, I'll let you know anytime you ask. I'll give you an update on your current grade as well. So we sent the midterm grade out. It was calculated by how many assignments you completed by the 5th week and what grades you got on those. If you didn't complete some of them, then that's all works into the percentage you received in the grade you have at the moment. All that can change. You can work on any assignment till the end of the semester and keep sending it back to me for a better grade. Anytime. All semester, all term. Just keep sending it back with more improvements till you get an A, if that's what you're after. Okay, if you're happy with the C, you can do all the assignments and get a C on it and get a C out of here, and then you have that as a passing grade. If you don't do the assignments, or they were so minimal and ridiculous that I didn't even, I said, well, you're not even getting a C on that. I would let you know. But if I asked you to do more work on it, you usually have a average grade that you at least attempted the assignment, but it's not above average and certainly not excellent unless you put more work into it. And I'll always give you suggestions and examples so that you can improve and send it back to me for a better grade. That's how that works. So, but if you have lots of stuff, assignments you haven't sent, even the first attempt, then you should get on that and start sending all that to me from the prior weeks. And then anything I asked you to work on it. If you want the suggestions again, ask for those if you lost them. And I'll send them again, and then we'll talk about it, and then you work on that and send it back for a better grade. All right. We'll talk about all this again if you have questions, and otherwise look for those other videos on 2-point and 1-point perspective, corner of the room, and the house.